Good afternoon, everyone. After such a sumptuous lunch, I hope we are able to keep you focused and contribute onto the session also. So, first of all, thank you very much again for joining. The second session entails is about job site productivity, and this is a very important dimension that we have also kind of identified as a part of the vision roadmap, wherein we are suggesting that by 2035 the job site productivity should be doubled at the equipment level essentially. So how do we address that and how do we achieve that? That is the discussion that we are planning to do in this session. The session will start with keynote address by Mr. Pandey. And after that, we will have a short presentation by Kaushik Deb from PwC on the roadmap that we have prepared with ICEMA on the productivity side. We can alternatively call it as a job site solutions as well. So job site productivity and solutions. And then we will get into the panel discussion with all panel members. We will have a very fruitful discussion in terms of how do we drive this productivity, what solutions can be deployed, how the technology is seeing way into the job site productivity. And eventually, most importantly, the dilemma between cost and productivity, correct? Because there are questions around like if we deploy more technology, does it really help from the cost perspective, and how can we achieve ROI? So there are certain elements on that line also we will try to touch upon. So without further ado, I will request Mr. Pandey to give his keynote address. Sure. Thank you.
Chairman for the session, friends, very good afternoon. It's a very tough task to keep you awake, particularly after the heavy lunch. I'll try to do so. At the outset, I would like to thank the organizer. They have given me an opportunity where I can come and discuss my point of view. Generally, what happens in the government sector, you will find all the technology providers, they are coming to you, but nobody is there to listen to you. Now, I got that chance and I would like to, bring out my point of view. Friends, I belong to a sector which is a highway sector, and it's a sector which is keeping you busy. Over last 1 decade, we have seen uptrend. When I say uptrend, it is in terms of awards, in terms of construction. And whenever we talk about award construction and highways, people always ask what will happen in next 5 years or 10 years. I can only assure you this pace will continue. Because I'm not giving you all the figures, how much we are awarding, what is the, but it's a fact that it is uptrend. And if you see the documents of the government of India, it could be infrastructure in Amrit Kaal, it could be Vision 2047, it could be Vision 2032, it could be the scheme-wise approvals. I can only assure you that this kind of pace will continue, and whatever we are doing today will have to achieve larger. When I'm saying we'll have to achieve larger, and when I said that I belong to a fraternity which is the highway sector, again, for the benefit of those people who are not from the highway sector, let me just clarify that highway sector, it's a big sector in the sense we are fortunate that we have the second largest road network in the world. And I'm sure when we'll have next conference of this type, probably I'll say we are the largest, because the way we are building, nobody is building. And this whole sector, which is of the order of 62 lakhs kilometer, has been divided into a number of categories, and this categorization has been done on the basis of who is the custodian. And the most important roads are the national highways. And I belong to that sector. The length of the national highways in the country is of the order of 1,45,000 kilometers. It is very minuscule when I see 62 lakhs kilometer, but at the same time it is very important because it carries more than 50% of the traffic. So it is important. And when we talk about technology, it is the sample where we should start with. So it is the most appropriate place where we can discuss all these. Now, coming to the point, everybody talks about technology, what we are looking for. We have achieved a kind of construction of the order of 37 kilometer a day, and the government is not satisfied, they are looking much higher. And to attain all this, what I am expecting, what I am looking towards the industry. What is my aim? When we are building roads, there are few requirements from our side. Number one is space. As I told you, everybody, everywhere we go, everyone talks about what is the construction per day and how much you are going to do it. Means if I'll go 30 kilometers, then everybody will say you are not doing good work. So then I'll have to keep that pace. Pace is most important. Of course, when we are building to this level, I need money and I would like to do maximum within the available resources. When I'll have to do within the available resources, it means I'll have to do some kind of cost optimization. Number three, which has become very important nowadays, and particularly when we are signatory to the international agreements that will reduce carbon emission, it means I'll have to do something which is sustainable. Number four is the road safety. You heard, and of course we have the dubious distinction of having maximum number of fatalities on our roads in the world. So we'll have to reduce that. And number fifth is the transparency. And when I see all these 5 requirements, I think technology is the only solution. Now question is, when I have these requirements, why we have not taken steps? This is the question in your mind as a government, why we have not taken any steps to address. Friends, I can only tell you, we have taken all these steps, we are moving forward, but of course, what we'll have to do is, we'll have to work together and improve this pace as well. Coming to the government side, let me tell you what we did. Number one, we have modified all these specifications. Our specifications are undergoing a lot of changes. And we started with manual construction, and the first step was automation. And this is clearly reflects in our specification. If you see the specification when it was prepared first time, it is around 50 years back, and the 5th revision which is available now, you will find the labor component is gradually going down. I can only give you some of the examples. Say, for example, when we talk about earthwork, the labor component in earthwork at one time was 40%, which has reduced to 15% now. So we have achieved to that point. But is it good? No. Now what we'll have to do is, we'll have to move towards digitalization. Why? That I'll also answer. This is one part of it, the specification. We have brought out number of new specifications. When I'll say new specifications, C recycling, C cement treated bases, C cement treated sub bases, bar mixes, and all those. List is very long. The second important part where we have changed is the design consideration. When I say change in design consideration, when we started designing our road, it was empirical design. It means I have given you that 3 layers you will have to provide. This is the traffic, this is the this rainfall, and this is the thickness you will have to provide. Now our design are not empirical, it is mathematical modeling. We have done it. Now you can provide any kind of layer. Why we did this? So that technology can be introduced and people can come up with the new products, and they need not to go for the traditional design. They do characterization and carry out the design, we'll accept it. The fourth important area where we changed is the form of contact. When I say form of contact, you might have heard BOT and EPC. Now in the present form, earlier what kind of tender we were awarding? We were awarding when we are telling you how to construct this road. Means mix so much of bitumen, this. We are giving you the recipe, you will have to do it and I'll pay you. Now I am not giving any recipe. I am asking you, you construct this road which can take care of this kind of load, which can take care of this much of traffic. You construct it with anything. The whole idea is so that new people, new technology, new material can be introduced. So we have done it and we are continuing to do it. Now question is, what next? Of course, by doing all this, we have reached to certain level, and that level is not as per the requirement, and we would like to see further. It means I'll have to move one step forward. Towards that, what is to be done? As I said, in the contract document, we have modified everything. We are not asking you to do the way you know, I am telling you, rather you do, and I am looking for the performance. Answer for all this is only technology. Now question is, whenever we talk about technology, everybody, to me it appears a myth that whenever we talk about technology, everybody talks about, you are talking about cost optimization, you are talking about technology. Is it not contradictory? To me, of course, with a very, very limited information available with me, I can tell you no. Any technology will survive in the market when it is meeting the requirement of the user. When it is meeting the requirement of the user, it means it is meeting my 4 or 5 requirement, and cost optimization is one of them. To elaborate my point further, as I said, what I am looking for pace, I am looking for cost optimization, I am looking for transparency. In one of the discussion, we have asked the industry that I am a highway engineer, what I am looking for doing something fast, doing accurate, doing with transparency. What is the meaning of transparency here is, today what I am depending on the engineer. When you lay a road, he will measure the thickness, he will measure the density and all those, and he will say it is okay, pay it. When we asked industry, can't this work be done, can't we use technology, it is nothing, I am not asking something rocket science, and people said it can be done. What we did is, we have invited one tender wherein we made it a point that everything will be through equipment. When your equipment will move, there will be sensor mounted on it, it will give me everything. When I am saying everything, whatever is my requirement. And that work is in progress. When we invited tender for this work, we were little apprehensive that when we have put this kind of condition in the tender, probably my tender will be high. It gives me immense pleasure to tell you that the tender went below the estimated cost. It only proves that yes, it is meeting the requirement. It means it is saving to the contractor at some place or the other. And it is proven that as far as grading is concerned, you know, industry claims much higher, but I can tell you at least 30% increase in productivity, it is ensured. So with that increased productivity, you can put all these kind of sensor. What is the advantage? Today I need not to depend on anyone. I am not depending on the engineer. Of course, in this particular project, I am depending on the engineer. There is a reason for depending on the engineer, for a very simple reason, because it is my first pilot project. I will have to see the kind of results I am getting from the sensors are validated by manual means, and that day is not far when we can, eliminate engineer as well, when I have the confidence that I am getting 100% correct data, and this data will be used for contact management. Now, the next question which should bother you is why we have not gone whole hog. Why can't we go wholehearted and all the projects? Friends, as I told you, as a authority who is building road, I will have to take care of number of objectives, and one of the objective is space. I don't expect that the entire contractor, entire industry, building industry will be ready in one go to equip all their equipments with the sensors. Even there is every possibility that the technology providers may not have that kind of capacity. So what is the answer to it? What we can do is, let us move in steps. And there what we'll have to do is, we'll have to prepare a roadmap that yes, I started with 1, next year I'll take 50, next to next year I'll take 500, and next to next year I'll say This is the minimum standard, below this no contractor. It will give 4 years to the industry to build. They can they can make an assessment of the market. It will provide time to the contractor to come to our expectation, and in the process my pace will not be disturbed. There is no disruption. Now coming to the industry side, what I am expecting from the industry? There are a number of expectations from my side. First expectation is, I am going much, I am not even talking about digitalization, I am talking about a part of automation. We have written our specification long back when we said the one layer can be compacted and the thickness should not be more than 200 or 150 or 300 depending upon different type of material. Today we are doing such a huge work. If I have to increase the pace of construction, can't we say no, we can go up to 500. Industry can come forward, they can tell me what to do, what not to do. I will modify the specification and my road building will be, the pace of road building will be doubled. Number 2 is the skill. Today what is happening? Whenever we will go on road, we will say it is all fully automated, built by machinery, but whether user is getting that kind of comfort? No. And when we ask why it is so, the answer is the operator is not skilled. If operator is not skilled, I am losing the benefit which I expected. So I expect industry to come forward and help us. This is what I talk to you is about all road building. Our job is not completes here, we will have to see the whole life cycle. When I talk about whole life cycle, it means the operation and maintenance is much bigger issue. When we are tolling, user has his own expectation. I am sure that day is not far when user will expect, if my vehicle is, there is some problem with the vehicle, if it requires some repair, he expects that somebody should come and help him, because he is using my road and I am paying him. Ultimately, this road building will not continue for long. Once we will build the whole network, then we will have to move towards maintenance and operation. All maintenance and operation, again the sky is the limit. I will have to provide all kind of services, and some of the area you might have even witnessed, say FASTag. We started with manual tolling, then moved to FASTag. Still FASTag is not the answer. Today, in today's world, when we go to the market and for a small vendor who is sitting by the side of the road, you can pay by any means. You can pay by Paytm, you can pay by Google Pay, you can pay by debit card, credit card. Why not in the road? People will expect that if I am starting from here, I will give you the route map, you tell me the toll, I will pay here and go move. I need not to show anything anywhere. So there are empty number of areas where we will have to work. Again, I can only tell you, if we will work together, I am sure we will meet each other's expectation and make life of the people more comfortable, and will be in a position to provide safe and comfortable drive to road users. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Pandey. I think that was good perspective with respect to how we can link training as well as skilling with the equipment, technology, advancement, and really drive the productivity at a site level as well. So thank you very much, and I will request now Kaushik Deb to come in and present for next 5 to 10 minutes on the solutions roadmap that ICEMA has prepared. Over to you, Kaushik.
Thank you so much, Yogesh. Very good afternoon to the esteemed panelists and the esteemed audience. My name is Kaushik Deb, and I'm a manager with PwC India. I will be presenting on a brief presentation on job site solutions, and details on which, of course, you'll get to see in the detailed report. Now, job site solutions was one of the major themes that we had identified, because not only does it address the points on efficiency, on productivity, but it also does it does contribute to job site safety as well as sustainability. Now, at any construction site, there are various challenges that a project may face, whether it's cost overruns, whether it's time delays, whether it's too much emissions into the environment. And these are challenges that need to be addressed, and urgently. Pandey sir has also addressed that, the government wants more. They want to look at even more ambitious targets. And with the challenges that are already, that almost every construction project really faces, there's a need and there's a lot of potential, especially with digitization, automation, data-driven decision-making, as these are picking up more globally, not only in the construction equipment industry, but a lot of allied industries as well. So there's a lot of potential to first improve the existing efficiency, job site efficiency, but also improve it to a point where we can, potentially double the output of a project. And as part of this roadmap, what we've also done is we've identified a goal for the theme of job site solutions, where we would like to achieve by 2035, we would like to achieve maybe 2x productivity from construction sites. So moving with the presentation. So as I said, there's a lot of potential for technology to be adopted for job site solutions, and the evolution we actually see basically in five major objectives. Firstly is the right equipment. With the right equipment, what we mean is that every application, the right equipment should be used for the right application, whether it's the type of equipment, whether it's the type of attachment, whether it's the tonnage of the equipment. So the first objective is getting the right equipment right. The second objective centers around connected equipment. So the use of technology to constantly track the tasks done by the equipment, positioning of the equipment, etc. Now, once we have looked at connected equipment, the next is an optimal set of or combination of equipment for a given application, for a given project, which will, of course, cover both the right equipment part of it as well as connected. So there'll be more of machine-to-machine connectivity. There'll be more informed decision-making happening at a process level. Excuse me. And then with this, basically, as we see more and more technology adoption, this expands into a job site level, and then even further into a project level, which is not only limited to an equipment or a set of processes, but also now we can look at technology solutions that can help in overall project planning and project implementation, so that the objectives that we mentioned earlier can be achieved. So keeping these in mind. Keeping these in mind, we see three various stages of the type of benefits that technology can bring. One is first at an equipment level. At an equipment level, we can maximize equipment efficiency and productivity. Then secondly, as we achieve that, we see it more from a job site level. So at a particular job site, now that job site can be dynamic, for example, road construction, it can be stationary as well. But for that particular job site at a particular time, we maximize the productivity of that job site. So hence the need for more of IoT integration, more of connectivity, etc. And then finally, we come to a project level maximization of productivity, where we see more of autonomous coming into the picture, hence informed decision making through data. And then, which also includes a lot of solutions that involve site surveillance and visualization. So, hence our roadmap for the job site solutions is aligned around these three major buckets. One is technologies at an equipment level, so which will include your telematics-based solutions, so your GPS, RFID, etc. Then at a job site level, where we then look into machine-to-machine connectivity, predictive analytics, IoT integration. And then finally, the third bucket for us is project-level technology. So here we see the advent of digital twins, BIM, and one of our discussions just before this panel discussion, I was listening to a talk on BIM and how there is a huge potential for it in the future. So, from a roadmap point of view, so basically bringing all my points into a roadmap format. In the short term, we really see a lot of technology solutions improving the productivity or the efficiency at an equipment level. So what we've indicated here is basically GPS, RFID systems, sensors and onboard diagnostic devices, and equipment analytics, which we see in the short term. So let's say around 3 to 4 years till about 2027. In the medium term, which we are defining as the next 4 years, so till 2031, we'll see we anticipate more of technology adoption from a job site level point of view. And then in a long term, it all feeds into the project, and hence it enables projects to become more technology driven, and hence we can see as the infrastructure, etc., are also in place, we see more of digital twins, even 3D printing, autonomous solid systems coming into the picture. Now, again, I think what we also mentioned in the safety panel was that, of course, this is a guidance document. These are the various technologies that will be in the entire ecosystem. Now, it really depends from project to project, depends on cost considerations as to what can be and what should be offered, what should be adopted at a project level, so that it improves the efficiency accordingly without really increasing the cost significantly to the customer. But then how does this happen? There are four pillars that, again, we need to look at. One is the need for the infrastructure. There needs to be, a stable communication network, control towers, etc., which can make the job site completely connected, and not just the stationary job site, but also a dynamic job site. Mr. Pandey, sir, also mentioned about skilling. So you can add all the technology that you can to make the equipment or the job site equipped for better efficiency, but the need for skilling operators, the entire workforce is absolutely essential so that it can be achieved. And finally, what is very important is basically the right governance and enforcement at a project level. So there needs to be standardization of data protocols to enable interoperability between equipment and control systems, etc. And then the right governance for implementation. Finally, what does this mean in terms of way forward? I think we think that the immediate steps for way forward are basically, firstly, that there's a need for increased awareness at the ground level. So what we can do is we can have awareness programs as well as knowledge building with various associations. So whether it's, for example, with BAI, or it could be with National Highways, basically NHBP. So we can have these awareness programs, which eventually comes down to the ground level at the customer level, where the importance of having the right equipment or the right solutions for a particular project is discussed. It's made more aware. And finally, one of the next steps, immediately the way forward next step can be around the standardized equipment protocols. So for example, universal data communication protocols, so that, and for something that can enable interoperability. One of the big points that we've had in a lot of discussions, even with a lot of members who are sitting here right now, is why cannot we enable data sharing between equipment, firstly from the same OEM, then secondly between OEMs, and thirdly between the OEMs and control systems. Now, for all of this, there needs to be protocols in place for which the implementation of which has to start from today. So these are more or less the points that we've also covered in a lot of detail in the roadmap. But I look forward to the panel discussion now, and thank you so much for this opportunity. Over to you, Yogesh. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kaushik. Thank you very much. I think that's a quick summary of what the indicative roadmap would be, or the guidelines from the technology adoption from the job site solutions perspective. Obviously, it is in the detailed report that is published by ICEMA. So if there are any questions, obviously you can reach back and we can help answer that. Now we will get into panel discussion on different topics, and I think it will give us different perspectives, correct? Like we have all the esteemed members here, and they will definitely bring in their perspective. So before we get into the equipment side, I just want to start with Mr. Pandey on the relevance and the way building information management can possibly get into the construction equipment industry ecosystem. Because as we are looking at more and more structured data collection and leveraging that for better planning and eventually leveraging that for better efficiency. So what are your thoughts, Pandey sir, on that?
You know, as I said in the keynote, that what are my objectives? I said 5 objectives, I'll have to meet it. I'll supplement it with 2 more points in the sense, when we talk about technology, today when we take up it in isolation, what happens? Capturing the data itself become a big task. I'm preparing a DPR, I'm collecting data there. What what is my intention is that data should start flowing from there. The contractor need not to do it. And I'm preparing 3D model at the time of DPR, let it flow. People should construct, then they'll modify on the same thing. The whole idea is this data capture load should be avoided. Otherwise, the field people are burdened by data capture. Every stage they'll have to capture the data. Similarly, data is captured by the machine and it can give me. The whole system is available. Third issue is, that is more important, is now today what had happened, there has been a philosophical change in the planning of our roads. Earlier we were following the contour. Whole idea is follow the contour, minimum cost. Today our cost is whole life cycle cost. It means I'll follow a crow flight alignment, which is shorter if it is giving me some kind of benefit over a life cycle cost. And when I'll say crow flight alignment, it means it will have a lot of tunnels, it will have a lot of structures. And when I'll provide tunnels and a structure, then I'll have to have continuous health monitoring of all those. Something should not go wrong. If something goes wrong, it means even a small, hold up will make my entire corridor wasteful. So I'll have to emphasize on these 2, and we'll have to use technology to meet our objectives.
Thank you very much. I think that's an important dimension, continuous health monitoring, obviously, and unless you have the baseline data correctly captured, it will be very difficult to really take it forward through the entire project life cycle and manage it correctly. With this, I would like to go to Mr. Channappa in terms of, because we also found out that selection of the right equipment or the right machinery for the right application is very crucial. If the construction site is using wrong equipment, obviously they will not get the required efficiency or the productivity out of it. So how do we kind of like probably drive it as an industry, which is like recommending to our contractors also in terms of using the right machinery and its deployment to enhance the productivity and obviously eventually safety as well. So Mr. Channappa, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Good afternoon, Yogesh. Thank you very much for giving an opportunity to come here and make my few suggestions for selecting the machine based on the project requirement. Selection of machinery is one of the most important factor in when you start up the project or already projects are running. So if you want any new procurement or fresh procurement, this is one of the factor. In case of new procurement, when you're starting the new project, first and foremost thing is you have to assess your site, the site condition, the terrain condition, the risk factors involved. So based on that, you have to design or define your equipment, what kind of required machines are required, whether your project can be run on a regular equipment, procuring the regular equipment which are available in the market, or whether you have any specialized equipment which you wanted to deploy in risk factors. All those things you have to consider, and also climatic condition also very, very important for machine as well as the team which is working in the project. And next we have to select the combination of machines. See, smaller project we can go for the smaller machines, a medium project we can go for the medium machines, and larger product we can go for the large capacity of the machine. We can so that we can reduce the traffic in the mines or any whatever the project. So nowadays technologies are there for the electrical version dumpers are there, battery version equipments are there, which we can utilize more and more in the coming days so that we can save the fuel energy and also pollution front. So I can suggest that some of the few points I can give here. We consider that less than the 5 million ton of the production of coal and all, we consider as a small project where we can go for the smaller capacity machines with a combination of 70 ton to 100 ton excavators with dumper size of 35 ton to 60 ton capacity. And medium size mines, we consider that 5 million ton to 10 million ton, where we can go for 180 ton class excavators and 100 ton excavators, one of the best combination. And coming to larger, where we can call is a bigger production capacities, the 10 million ton, more than 10 million ton, we can go for 190 ton or 200 ton capacity electrical version dumpers, where if the power is easily available in your project. So that is one of the optimum utilization of the machines that can cut down the cost. And battery operated dumpers still yet to come to India. I heard that Volvo has introduced the battery operated loader. I think it is yet to come to the market. I don't know whether they have launched or not. But one of the main factor, if the dumpers and excavators are introduced with the battery operated, this is one of the major factors which you are going to save a lot of energy. And the pollutions we can control. And we also need, wherever to the possible extent, wherever the drilling and bossing can be seen, where we can go for ripper type bigger dozers we can use, we can avoid the blasting and this thing. And the deployment of ripper also is one of the this thing. And if you have a soft mines, where we have a soft mine where we no need to go for the blasting and drilling and all, you can go for the continuous miner or surface miner equipment, you can select it. And the coordination, the procurement, the coordination between the procurement planning and operation department should be very cordial because sometimes equipment procurement get delayed and operation got started, and they'll available machine they used to deploy in the machines, and deployment of the right machine for the right job will not be there, and there is a safety, there is a compromise on safety and also risk involved. So, and we have to standardize the equipment as far as possible to avoid the complexity, and also training of the field staff and also operators is one of the major factor. Try to standardize the equipment as far as possible. This is one of the main factor we can I can suggest. And next comes the maintenance of the equipment, also very, very important. So we will procure the equipment and start deploying, and if you have not done the proper maintenance, so then you will not get the desired the performance and output from the machine. So there your cost of production will increase and your efficiency will come down. So we should have the proper mechanism for the maintenance of the equipment. Preventive, predictive, and also scheduled maintenance are carried out as per the OEM recommendations. So normally what I have seen for the last 33 years, I am a service engineer. There is a little bit lack of coordination between the execution operation side and the maintenance side. Many times due to work pressure or production pressure, normally equipments are not being spared for the maintenances. or they will spare the equipment at a delayed hours. So which, no, definitely it will, the life of the machine, aggregate life and performance output, and also sometimes it will have the major failures. So this one of the system we have to implement and see that the equipment maintenance are done in the at the right time so that we can enhance the performance. And what I've seen in many projects, what washing facilities for the equipment, no? I think it is lacking, maybe water resources or maybe planning, or it is one of the ignored factor in all the projects. Maybe when it comes to the construction side, when it comes to the mining side. So whenever you plan for the equipment or machineries, you have to have the, this is, maintenance, no? Maintenance has to be given utmost care, and all the facilities and infrastructure should be provided for maintaining the equipment. And one more thing I wanted to touch upon here, our minings are having, almost all the mines are having single roads. There is no double roads. There are a lot of risk factors involved. Many accidents are happening. So I suggest that most of the mines have to think for the one-way type roads, and also parking bay in between the crushing plant or to the pit and all. If they have one parking bay, so operator can go for the nature call and all, so that accidents can be avoided. I have seen accidents early morning in many of the places, head-on collision or tail hit, and fatal accidents have occurred. So, and a double roads, one-way type roads has to be introduced. And cement companies, to some extent, they have planned well, and they have a better mining operations. But other areas, particularly in construction segment, this is one of the area that has to be looked into. Thank you, Yogesh.
Thank you. I think that's a really good perspective, because bringing the right equipment based on the size of the project and ensuring that obviously the maintenance of the equipment is properly taken care of, so that there is right equipment efficiency and utilization happens. I think those are some of the good points. Thank you very much, Mr. Channappa, for that. With this, I think I would like to go to Mr. Raju Shalia. Like, we are using machinery, obviously, but when we look at from this productivity perspective, what are the technologies that can get into the equipment or the machinery that can enhance the productivity? What are your views, Mr. Raju, on that?
Thank you, Yogesh. Yogesh, I see a major transformation in Indian construction equipment industry. People are moving from product to a solution. Earlier people used to buy product, now they are expecting a solution. In that situation, technology plays a vital role, to support the solution. If I talk a few years back, when I used to see a product like which you are selling in India, there used to be a separate product for an export market, which is a developed market. And there used to be a difference, major difference. And that difference was because of the technology piece. Because that was a perception or a market expectation that we need a simple machine, no technology is required, some basic product is required for Indian market. But when I see now, that difference between the product has narrowed down to a large extent. There's hardly any difference, the product what we are selling to Europe or America versus what are being sold in India. So that shows there is acceptance in the market, there is a willingness to pay for the technology which improves the efficiency, which improves the productivity, which also ensures the minimum downtime or availability of the product. And people are willing to pay for that. Technology plays a very important role, because when we are talking about people expect they should be more intelligent, they should speak, they can communicate, and they should give a lot of inputs to the user, which can be utilized for improving the efficiency, to improve the productivity, and some kind of an indication, how the product is performing in terms of a pre-alarm or some kind of a fault finding sitting at the remote area. I remember, when we started in some product, IoT, people said it is a luxury, people won't accept it. because it is something fancy, and I don't know how long it will continue and it will die down. But now if I see, it is must be a part of the product. People are expecting only the responsibility of manufacturer is to present in a right way. You know, how to utilize the data of coming from the product, using the technology and transforming into a useful data which can be used by the end customer. And also it helps in synchronizing the product along with the job sites. That's why if you see, the distance is not a problem. Earlier, the job site office used to be close to the site, but it is no more there now. It is people sitting at remote and monitoring the product, their performance. To some product, they are solving their issues also remotely. Like we are having some products sitting in the office, we can address the issue using the telecom media or the data media. So that there are a lot of advantages using the technology in the product, but it has to be justifiable in terms of a solution, in terms of a benefit to the customer. Another piece of advantage is, you can enhance the life of the product, because you can do a lot of, I would say, predictive maintenance, predictive intimation from the product, and you can restore those kind of defects. Or if it is being abused or misused, you can give a proper alarm to the user, or if some training is required, you can impart this training. So that is the advantage of using a technology piece along with the product. One more advantage is the synchronization of entire business. So product can speak to product can speak to the job site. The technology also helps in optimizing the overall business cycle or the job site cycle. So these are some of the advantage. In my opinion, it is really helping us. It should be a part of product. Only thing is we have to present in a right way and explain them. I'll give one example. Like this February, we launched an EV, which is designed and developed in India. And general perception when we discussed, said it is too early for EV to bring in India. To our surprise, there a lot of customers came in, they want to buy even Proto said. They said, even it is Proto, we want to buy, no problem. Because they understood, because the newer generation, they understand the advantage of the technology and they appreciate that. Once they are convinced that this can help them in growing their business, they are willing to pay for that. So I think technology taking forward will play a very vital role, not from the product point of view, but through a whole business point of view. Coming to the last point is, like I think previous panel we touched base about the site safety and the operator safety and the product safety. So they all are integrated. We can integrate through using a technology piece in that. So this is my view, and I'm going forward. I'm sure the gap between Indian product and the overseas product will be negligible, and the way we are growing on the technology side, I'm sure we will take over after a few years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Raju. I think that's very encouraging to hear that, considering you are into the depth of new technology development, and the way you explained that it's responsibility of a OEM to really explain the benefits of the technology and how we can actually link it with the job site synchronization. I think that those were some important, interesting points. Thank you very much. With this, I would like to go to Mr. Anand Sirohi, just to understand also his perspective when we are looking at integrating the technology from the equipment side, and also how do we kind of link it to the planning phase so that it would be kind of as an overall beneficial from the project perspective. What are your thoughts, sir?
Thanks, Yogesh. And I think Rajiv has set a perfect base for me where he spoke about solutions. First of all, I would say we, all of us on this dais and in this room, we are having the most exciting part of our life in terms of the possibility to do something different. Look at the national infrastructure pipeline, $1.8 trillion to be done by 2024, and with some delays, it would be 2025 or whatever. And are we closer to that? I would say we have a long way to go. If you look at the projects, most of the projects today, they are having cost overruns, time overruns. Time overrun is the main reason, and cost overrun is a byproduct of it. With that, I'll take, back. So while we are talking of equipment only, but if you look at a project, the play is labor, material, and equipment. Any infrastructure project, whether it's a port project, airport project, and it all starts with the pre-feasibility. And it starts with basic, maybe drawing some lines on Google and doing some financial analysis, viability analysis, and then it takes shape. It has a lot of considerations, some political considerations, some viability considerations, funding considerations. Now, why would, a funding agency like World Bank or ADB fund a project? So, if we look at the life cycle aspect, and that is what Yogesh asked me, while government declares the project today, there are reasons, the project is declared while the preparedness for that project is not there. And one of the reasons that we struggle, most of the people struggle in delivering that project is there. But let me, start from the first. So Trimble is known more as a equipment company, survey equipment company, a technology company. We brought the usage of GPS into the commercial space first time 1978. So we are a 45 years old company, and slowly, with the acquisition of different technologies, Spectra systems and others, we have used it along with the sensors, to create a solution, what Rajiv spoke about. So neither we are talking technology in isolation or equipment in isolation or labor or material, because everything is required to solve that, big puzzle. So the first thing is you would do all that feasibility, funding and all that, and then the first person comes on the ground. When the project gets serious, it gets into some approval with the survey data. And this is the most important thing for a project, because if the survey is not correct, your DPR can never be correct, because the design consultant would come, he would use that survey data. I heard, he spoke about BIM and others, but I am into BIM for, I would say 3 decades now, and I started with very initial steps, and today I would say, if I look at the BIM or digital twins, people think BIM as just a 3D drafting or a 3D model. The best of the people on the ground today, they think getting a GFC drawing which is good for construction, that is BIM. But BIM, so let me break that piece. So B is the verb, building or a creation. I is the data or the information or what we are talking for the whole life cycle, starting from survey data to the DPR data, and this DPR would become a basis for a tender, and this tender, somebody would come and bid, and he would construct, and finally, when he would construct, he has to deliver to the owner, whether it is a government or a private operator, as-built information. Now, this is a challenge. How many people are giving the as-built information? And then in the operations and maintenance cycle, and then the renewal. So this is the whole life cycle, and Trimble plays a role right from the survey data to the asset management. And I'm not talking Trimble, I said technology is available to do that, right? Now, we heard 5 things that Mr. Pandey spoke about, and I think these 5 things are most important. I have come across some projects where the delivery time is 24 months, 15 months. One of the very important project of India, it has to be constructed in 17 months. That's a factory project, but I'm talking that the timelines on the projects are shrinking, and the timelines can only be managed by utilizing all your resources, labor, material, and equipment in the right way with the technology. Now, so he spoke about the space. So there are solutions which are available today. It's not just drawing a line for an alignment. I know many times it is political compulsion, but today there are possibilities that whatever data you have through the survey data or the augmented data which is available from Google or Microsoft Bing data or other data sets, it is possible to integrate all this data, augment it, whatever data you have collected in field, and do the alignment optimization with the tools which have the ability to, they have the rule-based integration. Like if it's a rail project, the gradient has to be so and so. So it will not violate all those rules. And I am happy to say that on National High Speed Rail, the alignment which has been done on that Ghat section which was planned with the, in the DPR with the 95 kilometers. And by using this tool, which is known as quantum, it was reduced to 85 kilometers. And 1 kilometer of the construction of a high-speed rail is, on an average, 110 crores per kilometer. No, it's more, 110, because the overall, project is much. So by investing about 30 lakhs in the technology, we could save 1,000 crores on that project. That's an example. I would take another example. If some of the people are here from Bangalore airport, L&T was supposed to use 21 graders for doing the earthwork on that project. They did it with 9 graders. How? Because typically today the grader productivity is 25 to 30,000 cubic meter per grader per month. By putting the add-on technology on top of that, it was possible to achieve 50 to 60,000 cubic meter per grader per month. And this was replicated on Delhi airport. And on the Delhi-Mumbai, GR Infra has used the technology. I have Manav with me and, Saurabh here. These are the people who helped, GR achieving that. And I would say, today we have come across a very interesting situations. Why? So, none of the large contractors, they have the equipments of their own. They do subcontracting. So when you do subcontracting, if you see the life cycle of a project, the DPR consultant is separate, his job is separate. When you come to construction, the earthwork contractor is separate and he does a very small portion of that, and then the next contractor comes. So integrating all these people with the common denominator is very important, and that common denominator is only the technology part. And imagine if we could do double the productivity, it has an impact on sustainability, because saving off the half of the diesel from that grader or a compactor or a wire crane system. Because I took the example of a runway or the road project. We have a similar example on Dabhol for the breakwater construction, or the Vizhinjam airport which Adani is doing, and ITD cementation is the contractor there. Wire crane placement of the acropods at the right place. Imagine we are doing it first time, right? With the productivity, with the quality, and only not increasing the productivity of the machine, you need to also ensure that you have the material to suffice. Otherwise what happens? Machine will do it, but then other people will just sit on doing that. So by integrating these things, I think there are technologies which are available, and whatever Pandey sir said, the 5 things which he said: safety, transparency, sustainability, resources. All the resources which are there and the spaces, they can only be managed by integrating all these aspects with the technology, providing a solution for the people, and delivering helping the contractors or the ecosystem delivering the project on time. I think I can keep on talking on this, but keeping the time in context, let other people add. I think we have a great panel, and everybody would be happy to contribute for the benefit of the people.
Thank you, Mr. Siroi. I think interesting how starting at a pre-feasibility stage and leveraging technology to plan it better, so that eventually at overall project life cycle level, you are suggesting that the cost overruns, time overruns can be brought down to minimal essentially. So thanks.
And the one most important thing, the asset management side, because when NHAI or anybody manages the assets, that asset has been done with certain, say, traffic in mind. Now, suppose that traffic was X million units, and because of any reason, you have more traffic going in less time. So that asset has already, weared and teared. So today, those decisions are made more on guesswork. There is possibility that this could be done. All the NSV vehicles, the data which is being captured, it is possible that, by putting the deterioration models in place, they can all be, captured.
Correct. I think, thanks for that last point also. I would like to go to Mr. Sanjay Bajaj and understand his perspectives on what are some of the global technologies that also we can see entering into the Indian market. Obviously, when you look at the Indian perspective, the cost obviously becomes one of the important dimension. But what we are hearing is that the cost is coming down significantly also on some of the technologies. And where do you see the opportunity for India to leverage some of the global knowledge and technologies?
Thanks, Yogesh. Thanks, ICEMA, for having me here. Thanks, Pandit sir. for your guidance always. Um, Prior to the discussion, I'll take you prior to 2014. It was a regime of BOTs. And if you look at the construction period to the concession was 920 days or 930 days. So 3 years was a typical time for that. A. B. Look at the construction of embankment heights, what we are doing then and we're doing now. So kind of expressways we started in last 3-4 years. That time we are doing normally 4 to 6 lane or 2 to 4 lane. So time and quantities, both are a challenge in today's scenario. I would say post 2017 or 2018 when the expressway plan came into action. And 3 countries or 3 continents contributed to our thought process: Europe, China and US. China was more because of the construction, because in Europe and US the construction virtually has stopped. They only upgrade or rehabilitate their highways now. When you go into model of BOT typically or cash projects, it is we are still a L1 concept. Technical part is taken care, but it has to be L1. So cost comes into major consideration. A, B, getting the resources. C is also the social, ecological and sustainability angle. So what options we had in India? We had a ban on mining. We are looking at bigger expressways. Our per ton requirement per kilometer with the average height of 6 meters embankment would be close to 25,000 tons of aggregate put together per kilometer. And approximately 60 to 70% would be in earthwork. So people, industry, in earthwork industry can think about it, what they were doing earlier. So you see now how the bigger excavators, graders, loaders or compactors are into the game now. Now moving into the construction technology, I would say the 3 big things have come here in India is on base stabilization, the soil, because as we build bigger highways in terms of non-perpetual payment or a high design in terms of MSA traffic, we need a stabilized soil. So that has picked up, that is a game changer. Just to share with the esteemed audience here that in a lot of sections of Delhi-Mumbai Expressway, especially near the Kota, a lot of soil has been modified as soil stabilization. I would say that is the one advent has happened. Second, I would say stabilized base. The concept came in from China to India after 2014. So that has actually helped nation not only to save aggregates by, I would say 25% is the average saving when you construct your roads with stabilized base or sub-base versus a conventional gravel construction of GSB or WM construction. It also helps you to cut down asphalt layers also. And associated logistics and associated pollution, emissions, carbon, CO2, everything comes down. Sustainability was a keyword there. And nation saves huge on resources. So these 2 technologies came in here in India it has become a part of documents now, a lot of projects use it. Pandey sir talked about compaction of layers. So even today, sir, we have, among the industry, 10 ton, 11 ton was the norm, but we have moved to 13 tons, 15 made in India, and now 20 tons comes for your CTSB or CTB or bigger gravel layers. So we are able to get the density requirements up to 400 to 500 for a subgrade, but for a gravel base, still limitation is 200 to 250 as per the Orange Book, because that's the requirement. So I would say that industry, ICEMA together has actually achieved that milestone. So that's the other technology which is coming from compaction equipment per se, sir. The other part of it is, this is the new construction part of it. Now it could be PQC payment or could be asphalt payment. I think India together has built a lot of world records in paving, 18.75 single pave width, a world biggest or widest national highway. That is from Baroda to Mumbai section. So we have world record with that, or in concrete paving. Similar has been milestone achieved in various asphalt projects done by the industry. So those technologies came in from there. But still, I would say we had gained a lot of things from China, US or Europe, but I still feel we still have a journey to travel in asphalt paving. Sir, in Europe, a lot of people, colleagues from industry will agree with me that we still do hot and hot paving. So the asphalt base DBM typically or asphalt top wearing course, they do in single layer. Now the question here is whether can we do 250 in one pass, binder 180, 50 or 70 wearing coat, and here we talk about tack coat and prime coat. So there has been some reservations or some challenging thoughts among the authorities, but Europe does it very regularly, sir. I think time has come, India should look for this because A, it helps you to achieve your MR values, what we plan for our design parameters. B, it helps us to actually cut down a lot of time and heat energy requirement for asphalt paving requirements, and also saves tons of bitumen or emulsion for your emulsion or tack coat binding coat. So that is one part I feel does not yet arrived in India. We have a lot of questions on that. That is one new part of it. The other technologies which found way in India has been, see India, we're talking about $25 billion every year, new construction. But let's not forget about the asset what we have made since our independence in last 70 years, right? So these assets are the property of state government or national highways. So asset maintenance has been, I would say, on a bit of on a back foot because we all talk about new construction. That's what we get into, more excitement part of it. Asset maintenance has been a very, I would say, technology is finding way in India. That is why, sir, you see almost 90% of the PE funds or infrastructure funding companies, or you call them TOT or InvITs, or investment companies are in India today. So a lot of funds are in India, almost 92% are already in India. Why they are here? They find the assets good, but they also look at the valuation of that. But asset maintenance technology, as Pandit have said, in time to come, I think NHA will stop making roads, but only maintain assets. I would say with a lot of responsibility, I'd say this, China has done a fantastic job in their asset maintenance. And the concept of recycling there has been very, very popular. And they have really saved several carbon credits to the countries. So that is one aspect I feel that while we are there in milling or in cold recycling, hot recycling, but that's a journey to travel, sir. So these technologies, I think India needs it, India wants it. We will save billions of dollars or rupees in terms of investment, in emissions, and a safe user experience. So I would say we are there, I would say, in the journey to that course, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bajaj. I think very important and pertinent points because it's not just about equipment, but also about how do you bring in some of the related technologies such as stabilized soil, stabilized waste to really bring down the overall resource cost as well as bring in the savings and improve the efficiency of the overall equipment as well as the project cost, correct? So I think that's most important. And the last point, what you mentioned, yes, we are all talking about new construction, new buildings, new roads infrastructure, but there would be a big opportunity to look at from the maintenance side. How do we kind of apply the technology to really maintain these assets which have been built over the years? I think that's a very interesting point. Thank you. I would like to go to Mr. Harpreet to understand his perspectives on data-led solutions and how the data is playing big role in driving the technology in the solutioning space for the construction equipment industry. Thank you.
Yeah, hello. I'd first like to thank ICEMA for giving me the opportunity. I'll answer this question in parts. The first thing which I would like to understand and I would want people to understand is that how do you first define productivity? For me, it is performance, availability, and quality. And we have to address all these three aspects in an equipment. Performance, to do the job in time. Availability, to ensure that the equipment is available. And thirdly, quality of the job that you are doing. Now, In this, obviously, they have to be governed by two aspects. One, obviously, we have to look at the Atmanirbhar side of things, which all equipment manufacturers are, we work with a lot of them, and several of them are today really pushing that side. And the second side is the people factor. All of these have to have the right people, as they say, right person on the right job. So we can break this again into few more parts when you look at efficiency again. So I would say on a vehicle it becomes in-cab, because we are a technology provider, and for us in-cab is something which is, trust me, one of the most neglected part. We all want to drive good cars. We all want to drive on a comfortable seat. We all want to have a good information system in front of us. We all want a good aircon. But then a lot of this gets compromised when we go to vehicles, when we go to construction equipment, when we go to mining equipment. You will see this in Europe. The leader in technology implementation in Europe over the years has actually been the agricultural equipment. A lot of equipment comes from there. Why? Because you have a guy getting down from a BMW or a Mercedes and then getting onto a tractor. He expects the same kind of luxury. He expects the same kind of user interface. He should be able to start a tractor and run it without having to be trained on it. And I think, so for him, it is in-cab. The other part is on-board. Now, it's the technologies that we put in on-board, on the equipment. This includes the attachments that you put in, the tools that you put in, everything. The third part of this is obviously the interoperability, where, as we were discussing, that equipments need to get connected, data needs to flow. So all these three aspects have to be looked at. Now, I'll mention a few technologies which people are today using on these. One thing which people have mentioned is operator assistance, where the operator, there are technologies today with data and analysis. The operator is assisted on how to do the job. The operator is assisted so that he does not make errors. He does it fine. He does a good job, uses less material, uses, I'll word myself correctly, uses optimum material, right? The second thing is, for me, self-diagnosing equipment or smart equipment. An equipment which tells you that this operator is not capable of doing the job, or this road condition is not what I'm supposed to, Think of the equipment as an individual, and that starts developing a brain, and it is happening everywhere today. The third part is obviously telematics, where a lot of people use telematics, a lot of data. Telematics, started getting pushed into this country about 6 years ago, and even today, if you actually go down to the grassroots, 75 or 80% of the people only want to know where is my vehicle and what is the diesel level. That is all they want to know. That's all where it is getting used. So that is something which we need to, move away from. And that can only be done if it is backed by strong analytics. So as OEMs, you will soon have to have strong analytics teams, which is going to help provide your end customer with enough data, the right data, because trust me, too much data also you don't want. There can be an overkill of data. From the industry side, as we are an electronics provider, there is obviously a need for regulation. We've seen E-Mark is again a certification which you need if you supply components, electronic components into Europe. So when we are implementing these technologies, see, you can buy a collision system for 5,000 rupees, you can buy a collision system for 50,000 rupees. But are they certified? Will they not, will the 5,001 fail in 200 hours? Can it stand, the rigorous environment, the vibration, shock, everything that the equipment needs? So I think that is something which we need to get into. UK has now gone into the UKCA. We have the CE mark for a long time. So I think regulatory boards in the country will So equipment regulation, field regulation is one thing, but at the component level, where electronics is being used, where technology is being used, do we have some way to qualify and certify those? Other 2 points I'll touch. One, Mr. Sundaresh mentioned that safety and efficiency, totally. Safety and efficiency have to go together. They can't go separate. An efficient equipment automatically is a safe equipment. You cannot separate both of them. Mr. Krishnan mentioned about training, and we've seen that he's quite vocal about training to be done and skilling. I think it's not only on equipment side, it also has to be on the electronics, on the aggregates. Today, if you have, you need trained operators which can operate the technology, not only just operate the equipment. And I think this will all feed into, what Pandeyji says, that for me it's like, everything I understood from him was that, ye dil mange more. Pandeyji is from the point that, yes, you have done, but then, I want more. Tell me what more can you do for me? And I think data, onboard vehicle, technologies, everything just work towards serving the end customer at the end. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Harpreet. I think good points about self-diagnostic machines and really how do we kind of use data to connect to the operator performance, as well as whether we can talk about, like, machine can tell us whether the site that the machine is working on is the right site for that machine or not. I think that's an interesting point, because and that's what tying back to, like, right machine for right application, correct? So very apt points on that as well. Thank you. So at the end, I think I would request Mr. Manav Kohli to summarize, because I think, as you have seen, this is not one man army kind of a show, correct? Everything has to come together. All the pieces of puzzle need to fit together, and there are different stakeholders that need to come together to really make the entire solutions and efficiency improvement to really happen. So I would request Mr. Kohli to talk about how do we make it happen, really.
Thanks a lot, Yogesh, and thanks, ICEMA, for having me here. And I think a lot of fantastic points have been made by my esteemed colleagues, and panelists, and especially the keynote address from Mr. Pandey, really bringing in the perspective of the government and the progressive thinking that we are witnessing today in the country. And, like Mr. Harpreet said, dil mange more, and truly so, because, we are saying 37 kilometers, but we really want to do something like 100 kilometers a day. Now, how's that possible? Is technology a key enabler in this process? I don't think any of us has that doubt. If you look at the discussion and today most of the stakeholders are here, all the stakeholders are there. The government representation is here, the equipment manufacturers are here, the technology providers are here, and some of our esteemed customers are also represented here amongst the delegation and delegates and the audience. So I don't think we lack the purpose as a community of people who are building infrastructure for the nation. We have the purpose, and we are all, in some way or the other in our businesses, benefited from him, apart from the fact that the nation gets benefited if we create this kind of infrastructure at a faster pace. So there is every reason why we should collaborate and why we should work together as stakeholders. Now, we've had, some kind of a privilege of working on this front for some time now. Like Anand mentioned that, some of the early adopters, in this area of, at least on the machine control side, our teams have done some ground level work, absolutely the ground level work in terms of creating the business cases and the use cases. So what is it that we see from a ring side? So we get to hear the government, we get to hear everybody. Part of my assignment is also as an OEM distribution company. So I also have part of the OEM perspective and then the technology providers subsidiary that we have. So, putting all this together, the point is everyone has a slightly different perspective. They're not very different, but they have their own concerns. Whenever a new thing happens, there is bound to be some concerns, and there has to be a proof of concept. Now, the good thing is the proof of concept is already happening in the national highways. So we have a project which is getting executed end-to-end using technology, right from the embankment to the grading stages to compaction to paving. And all this is being real-time monitored or capability to capture the entire information real-time. So quite honestly, when we say grading in 2027, I think there are people in our ecosystem who are ahead of this curve. We don't need the grade control is happening in the country, and people are seeing the tangible benefit. So if you look at, three or four different perspectives, the government in saying, like Mr. Pandey very well articulated, I want the pace. Second thing he said, I think I want the quality and durability, no matter how you design and you get it done. As an asset owner, that is the perspective. It can be public or private. So it could be government, it could be non-government. But that is the perspective the asset owner has. The asset should last long without defects. And therefore, you should design it with technologies. All that, even Sanjay Bajaj mentioned that, what can be done to achieve that. Now, when it comes to, therefore, the technology providers, the onus really lies on the technology providers to create such solutions and use cases where the executor, the customer is able to see, the ROI. And I will give you a small example. For example, we said grade control. Now, what our experience is, and like Mr. Pandey said, minimum 30%. But if you deployed grade control, because now you're doing everything digitally, we have gone from mechanization to digitization. So all the DPR and everything is digital. The survey is digital. You have 3D models available. All you need to do is to translate that data and tell your machines how to use that data to construct a highway. As simple as that. And like we said, all the machines are smart machines today. They are electromechanically controlled. So it's very easy to create this entire chain where the machine really knows at that GPS point what kind of construction it has to do and what kind of levels of cuts or fills it has to achieve at that point in time. That is what grading is all about. And that, as that is happening, now what you can do using technology is, you don't need to put the strings. So there are fewer people on the site. And the machine knows what it needs to do at a point of time. So the operator is a supervisor by himself. He doesn't need to be supervised or told to cut or fill. He's able to do the job first time right. And he's able to get exactly the accuracy that is required to be delivered as per design at that point in time. He's able to work even in the night because there is no visual guidance which is required. He can work in middle of a mist and execute the project. Now look at what this can do to execution of project and how technology is very relevant when we talk brass tacks and on the ground. So it's not a pie in the sky that we are really talking about. It's very relevant, very real, and how it is getting leveraged even today. So it's one of the use cases. If you come to compaction, over compaction, under compaction, both are a problem. How do you know we are achieving the right compaction at the right stage? And that is what technology will tell you at each geotagged point, right? And what more do you expect in terms of transparency? So technology will give you the transparency. So see, by doing all this, look, we are attaining all the objectives, one after the other, and that's the power really that I see of technology. Now, but what needs to be done is this ecosystem to sit together to address individual concerns, because there are, you're right, concerns of ROI, there are concerns of are the operators capable enough. These are very expensive equipment. They will throw it on the ground, they will break. Well, the manufacturers, the OEMs, providers have anticipated this. So these are really military grade, pieces of equipment. So they don't really break. But these are the kind of apprehensions. So it's a big cultural piece, it's a big training piece, it's a big familiarization piece, and dispelling a lot of kind of misgivings that people may have or apprehensions people may have, and which is right for anybody to have at this point of time. I think the role of the OEMs and the technology provider is to patiently and factfully, truly remove some of these hurdles and the roadblocks from minds. And the best way is, either demonstrating on the site or having a pilot project and using that information to cross-pollinate the idea, socialize the idea with the rest of the ecosystem. And I'm pretty sure, what we are talking about in terms of technology is likely to come much faster, on the ground, because the environment is right. The connectivity piece is not difficult. 5G has come to India, so connectivity, we're not too far from having connectivity as a big issue, in trying to execute this. India has its own navigation system, geo-navigation system coming into place. So I don't think we are anywhere behind in terms of being able to use these pieces of technology. So in my opinion, I think it is going to come faster. I think with the OEMs and the equipment technology and the technology providers, we must create the training and awareness. I think we have to invest on that. And I feel really will pave way for a much faster adoption of technology as such. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kohli. I think you touched upon a very interesting aspect, which is cultural part, and it's more about technologies available now. How do we leverage it, and how do we drive that cultural change across the stakeholders? I think that is very crucial because the behavior is going to bring in the use of technology, correct? So if we can drive that change in the behavior, certainly it will be allowing to really adopt the technology to the fullest and obviously lead the efficiency of the machines. So I think that concludes the session. I just wanted to kind of see if there are a couple of questions from the audience, if we can take just to reduce the monotony. If there are certain questions, we can take one or two questions, if anybody has. Do we have mics here? I think everyone is waiting for a tea break. Oh, there is one question in the back.
Hi, this is Abhijit here. I have a question for Mr. Pandey and then Mr. Kohli. My question is, most of the technology today is being tried or adopted for constructing new roads or new assets. But we are lagging behind on the maintenance of these assets. And if you see, the major part of the asset ownership goes into maintaining the assets. So how has the government decided on adopting new technologies for asset maintenance? This is my question to Mr. Pandey. And to Mr. Kohli, my question is, on the industry perspective, what is it going forward on asset maintenance?
When it comes to asset management, of course, today we are lacking a system for asset management. We are building on it, and it's a very elaborate system. But at the same time, let me tell you, this is an area where we started working first. Today, we are not collecting any data on the constructed asset manually. It is all automated. We are running a network survey vehicle every 6 months. And we are collecting data, all kind of data, condition survey of the road. So data collection is already on. There are a number of subsets of this asset management. In fact, we have already developed a system for 3,000 kilometers, but it has to be implemented for the entire national highway network. So we are on the job. Rather, I'll say on the construction side, to be very frank, as a civil engineer's adoption of technology, civil engineers are laggard. and in construction further. But in maintenance, we have already taken up, and you heard about construction. Of course, we have not taken up in a big way, but we started it.
Mr. Kohli, you want to add few points?
Yeah, I think thank you for that question. I think a lot of highways have been created, a lot more need to be created, but a lot of highways have been created in this country. And it is true, I think it's a very pertinent question. Mr. Pandey also highlighted that it is about not just about creation of highway, it is also about the maintenance of highways. Since your question is more specific to the maintenance going forward, and I think there are on horizons quite a few technologies, because many of these assets are now being monetized. And once they get monetized, the asset owners currently, they want people to step in, the OEMs to step in to really maintain these highways in a very scientific fashion, many of the, the asset owners. And some of the technologies which could be relevant is things like, what you do about crack sealing, how can you do pothole repair scientifically? I think that is one discussion which is happening in the country right now with a few news articles as well. How can you bring in, microsurfacing has been there, but not yet fully settled, established, in a larger way. But how can microsurfacing prolong the life of the road by bringing in the repair at the right time? I think milling and other things have been happening already extensively, but I think some of these technologies which are more preventive in nature, which are more corrective in nature, can really come in as the extent of maintainable highways or the length of maintainable highways increases in the country. And rideability is a key criteria for maintenance of the highways. And I think a lot of investment behind it. So this is something which, from an equipment perspective, I can foresee coming in the future, if that answers your question.
Okay, thank you. I think we are almost about to get into the break, and I think we have to do another session. So maybe we can chat over the tea break. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your valuable time and giving valuable insights. Thank you very much.
May I request Mr. Dimitrov Krishnan to come on stage to felicitate Mr. Pandey? And
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. And since the audience is a bit thinned down, my request would be to all the people at the back to come up front and take the front rows, so that we here in the panel are also a little bit more encouraged to speak, in this last session. So my request is, if you could just join us in the front. We will try to keep this session as efficient as possible. So of course, it's been a long day, but I can only say the best is for the last. We're going to talk about sustainability, and in this session, in the technology vision roadmap, since morning, while there has been an overview of the session in the beginning, but we have covered two sessions so far, one on safety and one on job site solutions, and this is the last one, which is on sustainability. So thank you very much for coming up front. So, I was looking at the vision roadmap, and there is one piece of good inspiration for us to start this session with. And that is the 5-point agenda that was presented by Mr. Prime Minister Modi at COP26 at Glasgow. There were 5 commitments, which India has made. The first one is that we will have a 500 gigawatt of non-fossil energy capacity by 2030. Number 2, 50% of energy requirements to be met by renewable energy sources by 2030. Reduction of total projected carbon emissions by 1 billion tons from now, which is in, I think this was 2022, to 2030. Reduction of carbon intensity of the economy by 45% by 2030, over 2005 levels. And lastly, which is very well carried by the media a lot, is the net zero emissions to be achieved for the country as such by 2070. So this has been the commitments that was made by Government of India, and since then, of course, there's been a lot of different initiatives and discussions that are ongoing in the area of driving sustainability in the country. One of the indices that is used for measuring countries' position in sustainability is something called a CCPI, Climate Country Position Index, which is basically based on several different parameters for ranking countries, and it's a ranking of top 10. And incidentally, there is no country in the top 3. That particular organization doesn't believe any country really makes it to the top 3. And then you have the Scandinavian, I think the Denmark or Sweden and Norway is in the top. And then India is in that rank of 10 at number 8, I think, last year. Which means we are number 5 if you just take the countries by rank. So purely from the perspective of the impact that our population of 1.4 billion has in the world, we're doing reasonably well. And that's primarily because our developmental pace has been on the lower side compared to the size of our population. And we have that advantage today to actually continue to, if we adopt the new practices, to try and keep the impact very low. So we're starting on a good and strong wicket. But at the same time, there are several industries that are actually impacting. I mean, all industries have an impact on the planet, and ours is no less. So when we look at sustainability in the construction equipment industry, we should of course also look at it from the full value chain perspective. In this session, we will also discuss the role of technology in driving sustainability through alternate fuels, alternate materials, and also circularity. ICEMA has been working particularly on alternate fuels by championing the cause of biodiesel since the last 2 years. Of course, there's been a lot of discussion with government on using many other alternate fuels, and we'll hear more about it later. The use of alternate materials is another one where we can promote sustainability by using promoting recycling in the materials that is used, but also using recycled material. And thirdly and lastly is the circularity around both the materials, but also the equipment as such. Can we have a high percentage of recycling in the equipment, or how can we have second life of equipment and repurposing and all kind of things that can build more circularity. So these are the areas that we will study, and we also will deliberate on the challenges and opportunities in our industry in the area of sustainability. To give us an overview, let me invite Yogesh from PwC to give us a feel for what has been recommended in the ICEMA's technology vision roadmap when it comes to sustainability. Yogesh, please.
All right. Thank you, DK. As if you are not bored of seeing me throughout the day. I would promise this would be the probably last 5 to 8 minutes for today. So we'll just cover briefly what is the roadmap that we have recommended as a part of the sustainability. Can you just switch over? Okay. So I think DK has correctly highlighted the government COP26 based agenda, and I think this is what lays down the foundation for the construction equipment industry also, in terms of how do we kind of chart our future when it comes to sustainability. I think this should be the guiding principles that we should really look into while we are building up our sustainability roadmap. I will not spend much time on that, but just moving on to the next kind of element, like how does it apply to our industry, correct? When it comes to construction equipment industry, and how do we drive the sustainability through kind of various levers or the various initiatives. And one of those levers is definitely reduction of emissions through the usage of the right fuel as well as alternate fuels. When I say right fuel, obviously diesel has been the mainstay of the fuel for the construction equipment industry, and it is not expected to go away because that is easily available, even can be shipped to the the construction sites very easily. So you cannot take out the diesel from the picture. So how do you make diesel more efficient? Through some of the technologies as biodiesel or diesel additives, how can we build the machines with considerations on that? That is one dimension. Second is obviously there is a push from the government side also on the electric machines. How do you kind of think about leveraging the electric machines in your portfolio to offer the kind of a best efficient solutions from the sustainability perspective. Auto industry has already seen the requirements coming in from the government with respect to the fuel efficiency norms. And to meet that, automotive players are looking at how they diversify their portfolio so that at an organization level they are able to meet these corporate average fuel economy norms. So there might be a kind of a trickle over effect from that to the construction equipment industry also, not maybe in the near term, but in the, let's say in the midterm. So how do we prepare base for that? That needs to be looked at also, and maybe electric vehicles can be, or electric machines can be a potential solution towards that, yes, but that requires a lot more infrastructure readiness. So that is a question to be addressed in the mid to long term. The second most important lever is the alternate materials or advanced materials. How do we kind of explore using lightweighted materials, the green steel? You must have heard that in Europe, the OEMs are now mandating the requirements of using green steels in, from the component players that are supplying the components on the steel side, correct? So will that be something coming up in the European landscape, and eventually that will be driven to India, because India as a regulations and policy, we follow Europe very closely, correct? So we need to kind of keep a close eye on that as well. And the last one is the circular economy. So how do we kind of promote the reuse of equipment after refurbishing rather than completely scrapping, and essentially also drive the eventually end of life equipment, the scrappage of that equipment, and ensuring that the material is reused. So that's where the circular economy dimension comes in, and you would have seen it, that is already kind of coming up in many areas. You would have seen the plastic recycling requirements. Then tires also have been imposed to follow the tire EPR requirements have come in. So eventually that will come in into the vehicles in the auto industry, and also we will see it in the construction equipment industry also. So how do we kind of start strategizing from that future expectations perspective that we need to look at? And when you look at this entire value chain of the construction equipment machine, correct? There are different elements of the value chain where you can start thinking about the circularity or the sustainability dimension. Definitely when you are designing the machines, how best you can utilize the fuel considering the current and future emission norms, what kind of fuels or alternate materials that you need to build up into your product portfolio so that customers would have right choice, because if those customers are listed, they would also have the certain ESG requirements that will come in the future. So they would also need to use equipment which is actually enabling them to really meet the sustainability targets. So how do you kind of offer the mix of right equipment to the to your customers? That is important. In the distribution side, how do you minimize the usage of the plastic packaging material, or use more friendly packaging materials, reusable packaging materials? That can be looked at. On the usage side, obviously, as we discussed in the previous panel also, how the best fit equipment is used, so that there is a more efficient fuel consumption that happens, and obviously through that you are able to drive the sustainability. And the last one is refurbishment or the proper recycling procedures, as I mentioned earlier. So those are some of the considerations definitely we need to keep in mind. And on the basis of that, we have kind of proposed the roadmap that needs to be looked at. And in short term, if you look at diesel, how do you best utilize the diesel? How do you, and some of the OEMs in the automotive industry, just to take examples, they are also kind of coming up with very efficient diesel engines and the petrol engines. So they are also realizing that complete transition to EV is not possible. And similarly, can we look into that? Like how do we best utilize our machines and the engines to kind of optimize the diesel usage and the reduction of the carbon footprint on the diesel engines? Usage of eco-friendly steels, plastics, hybrid and biofuel powertrains in the medium term, that will also kind of help us drive towards this roadmap. And the last one is there is obviously a lot of buzz and discussion going about the hydrogen powertrain. Obviously, it is in a nascent stage or of the development, I would say, in terms of mass adoption. But in the long run, it might be the fuel of choice. So definitely we need to kind of think about hydrogen as a potential fuel option in the future. And just to cover up in terms of how do we deploy this and bring in the right framework, so we need to really work with the government. One is that when you are deploying sustainability, we need to also work with the government to see if we can get certain incentive schemes for the construction equipment industry, because incentivization will drive more adoption. So incentivization along with the right regulatory framework and building up the enabling infrastructure for that. Like if we are saying that we have to use electric escalators, electric excavators or the skid steers, then is the yeah. So welcome, sir. So just covering on the infrastructure side again, most importantly, do we have the right charging station network that will come up in the long run, which will enable you to serve in the remote sites, refueling stations on the remote sites? Is that going to be available? Those need to be thought out as an ecosystem along with the various players in the ecosystem and the government also, and coming up with the right framework for deployment of that. So that's also another dimension that as ICEMA needs to look at, and their technology panel needs to look at how they position it to the various stakeholders. And lastly, how do you drive this? How do you execute this? So in terms of, sorry, I forgot to change the slides. So this was the roadmap I was talking about in terms of the short, mid, and long term. And the last slide that I am talking about is the target-based sustainability roadmap. So here you are looking at like how do you measure your own greenhouse gas emissions and set targets with respect to that. There are different levers that you can follow in terms of phase-wise approach, where you are kind of trying to bring down the emissions as well as drive the efficiency in the system and the sustainability also. So we recommend the approach with respect to setting targets as an organization on the greenhouse gas emissions, and also work with the government and various stakeholders to drive the incentivization in the ecosystem, which will kind of enable and set the target as well as set the stage for us to start working towards sustainability. So that's where I would like to stop and hand it over to DK to take it forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yogesh. Thank you very much. And very warm welcome to Mr. Sudhendra Jyoti Sinha for joining us here, sir. So you came right in time. So my first question is to you. So as a construction equipment industry, you know, one of the challenges that we discussed in the morning in the from a regulatory framework perspective is that we are partially regulated. We have a regulation on some of our products, which is governed by the CMVR Act, which is the Motor Vehicle Act. But there are products which do not fall under the Motor Vehicle Act because they are not motor vehicles, they are construction and earth moving equipment. And there are no standards to regulate them. So we have a very strange situation where we as an industry actually have been lobbying with the government for the last, 7-8 years to actually regulate it, but we haven't been able to get a regulation. So that's one gap while we are talking today about newer alternate fuel-based technologies, electric technologies and others, but this is one gap that exists, and that's something which we have been highlighting to various parts of the government. While, just before you came, I spoke about the COP26 commitments that government of India has made. There is quite big targets to be driven. In your view, one is the aspect of policy that we need as support to decarbonize as an industry. But at the same time, how do you see, with the growth of infrastructure and the importance of construction equipment industry growing, today we are the third largest market in the world. How do you see the importance of sustainability for our industry, and how we could contribute towards India's commitments? And then how can government, create more policy, frameworks that can support and incentivize these sustainability initiatives? And then, as I already mentioned, our challenge currently is about the lack of regulation, and how could potentially the government help us to become more regulated? So if you could.
So, thank you. At the onset, let me congratulate ICMA for organizing this, I would call it, from our perspective, a niche kind of area in which we are looking into. So the concept is that it is yes, you rightly said that it is the automobiles that are primarily responsible for, one of the primary responsibilities for creating pollution, for creating greenhouse gas imprints. Now, what about the construction equipments? So let me first tell you that we are little aware that yes, construction equipments also, as they consume gasoline, so they are one of the potential sources for greenhouse gases, and that ought to be, corrected. But I didn't know that what you mentioned, that there is no standards, there is no regulation, rather there is a minimum touch point on that. So how that can be corrected? So what I suggest is that maybe that some of you can reach out to us, and let's see that not that all of them can be done, because if they are not motor vehicles, so naturally they will not be homologated, they will not be covered under that stream. But the very fact that this is an equipment, this is a motorized equipment, so maybe for the purpose of standards, we could approach to Bureau of Indian Standards, maybe also Department of Science and Technology, and they can try to firm up that what exactly should be the standard. Because the idea is very clear. We want you not only to manufacture for the domestic sector, we also want you to manufacture to be the globally best, to be the best in the European or American markets. And that could be only possible if quite stringent standards have to be there. But naturally that has got implications. That has got implications because then your assembly line for the construction will have to be changed. That has got implication because you will have to put in more of investment into it. So maybe the better quality of materials will have to be used. So that is one part of it. Second is that in the mobility stream, you are aware that we are doing a lot of things, and this is getting us a lot of traction. Internationally, we are quite acclaimed also. But I must plead my ignorance that in the area of construction equipments, I don't have much idea that what exactly is the consumption rate, how much footprint it is there, and what if we go in for transition of this thing. But yes, the recent version of FAME we will be coming out with, that will be addressing to many of these niche areas. So hitherto we were bothered about two-wheelers, three-wheelers, aggregator-based cars, buses. So this was the prime focus, charging infrastructure. Now gradually we are shifting into new streams such as heavy-duty, freight vehicles, trucks, for example, it could be. Then it is e-tractors can be there. And in the same spirit, maybe construction equipments can also be taken forward. So my request to your association, your organization would be that please give us a complete picture, which otherwise we could collect from the internet and other sources, but of course the authenticity would be doubtful. So you can give us the correct picture, and let's see how we can take it forward. Yes.
Thank you very much, sir. Let me just add to your question. Our representations on regulating the off-road equipment has made several different progress, fits and starts, I should say. In fact, there is a draft notification prepared under the leadership of ARAI about 4 years ago, which is, so ARAI was appointed the chair with members of the industry, part of it, and, under Ministry of Heavy Industries. But unfortunately, it could not be notified. So it is in a stage where it is ready to be notified, but not notified. And hence, today we are a little bit lost because there is no clear ownership due to the lack of, business transaction rules. So it doesn't get covered under a specific ministry. And today we are actually struggling with that. We have also written to the CEO Niti Aayog on this subject in the past. But we would probably, just take your help as well, as you mentioned, that, can we give it that last push to really, as an industry, we are ready. We also feel we badly need it because, already half our industry is regulated, both from safety perspective as well as emissions. So what we are saying is on the off-highway equipment side, we need an emission regulation because largely the safety regulation is covered by DGMS. So that is today, is being covered. So, but we will definitely use your offices as well to get some support and make some progress. With that, let me come to you, Mr. Girish. You're coming from ARAI. In your opinion, of course, ARAI is a very strong partner to our industry in the development of our products. A lot of testing happens at your centers. And also we work with you in improving the regulations in our space. Looking ahead, what do you feel is the significance of adopting alternate fuels like hydrogen, biodiesels, CNG, and also electrification for the construction equipment sector?
Yes, good afternoon. Thanks ICEMA for giving me an opportunity to participate in this session. See, if I represent the testing agency here, with ARAI, like ICAT is there, CRT is there, GRC, then NATRAX. So there are testing agencies across the India, but majorly we are doing for automotive. And in today's scenario, we are talking about the ADAS testing facilities, ADAS infrastructure. So we are seeking a large revenue in the ADAS facilities. So as far as construction equipment is considered, I will give you some past history. Thanks to Mr. Krishnamurthy, he has very well given a good data of construction equipment capacity and variants and models to ARAI to summarize the investment and the roadmap of ARAI. Means he has helped us to make the DPIR, and we submitted the DPIR to ministry, but somehow it could not work out because this construction equipments, machines, considering the speed, the size of the machine, then complexity of the machine, it needs very dedicated equipments and infrastructure. So test track is one of the biggest challenge what we felt, because it involves a huge amount of money. So the land and the construction cost was very high. And again, everything when we invest, the ministry or our director ask about the ROI. Somehow that could not work out well. But as a ARAI, we seek as a service or solution provider to the industry. So in the phase of development and in certification. So if we say about development, basically we help industry for the localization projects, alternate materials, then process modifications, welding process. We have a world-class facilities for road load data acquisition and bringing the road load data into the lab. We have various types of actuators, and we really, we have a new fatigue lab where we do a lot of fatigue testing of the machines. So that is for developmental part. We have a materials lab where we have a material data bank for alternate materials. So we can help the industry in that manner also for development of their prototypes and validation as well as up to the certification. So we serve, means this CMM, what Saurabh Dalal told today afternoon, that is very much that act, we were keen to involve in that act. And when we see that there are almost 300 plus regulations available, the standards are available in the globe, then we felt that we really need to understand, go through the standards, compare the standards, considering the Indian scenario, and we felt that time is required to really digest those standards. That's why we participated now. We are majorly participating in MED 707, which is taken care by the BIS standard. So in that harmonization of standards we are going through, and every ICEMA members are supporting very well in that forum. So alternate fuels and other things, I really don't know how it will go so far, it will develop. Automotive, yes, it is definitely, but for construction equipment, really don't know how it will take up. As a nutshell, ARIs, like agencies, we are very much interested to participate in your roadmap, ICMA roadmap. And as far as regulations are concerned, our team will be there to make the regulations and do the test facilities in a shorter period. So that I will give you a classic example of AIS 160. Post-COVID, it was implemented. And we almost served almost 35 OEMs with we delivered almost 300 plus certifications to CV industry. So that was a classic example. Somehow we managed post-COVID sessions. So that's about the area, and we can do definitely, but only thing that there should be sufficient force from the government, because there are a lot of ministries are involved, Ministry of Finance, then DGFT. So we are seeking forward to see as this business model, and definitely we will participate whenever ministry or industry needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Girish. Thank you very much. And I would like to just add by saying that, in our industry, of course, the use of alternate fuels, particularly biodiesel, we have been championing with our members. We have equipment that can run at 20% biodiesel as well. Unfortunately, the challenge for us as an industry has been the availability of biodiesel, because while ethanol is sufficiently available and is possible to be, blended and available in the country at 15%, but biodiesel has been a huge challenge, particularly in the source, given the fact that it, to some extent, competes with the food chain in a sense, right? So we have struggled with that, but somehow, we have equipment that are available today which can run on biodiesel. But at the same time, I would also add that electrified equipment, which is battery electric machines, have also been launched in the country. And I'm sure I'll come and speak about that to Yuvraj later on that subject. But since January this year, we have seen sale of battery electric products also in our industry, which are doing quite well. And certain specific applications, these are actually able to find good. We also see that in our industry, globally speaking, hydrogen-powered IC engines will also make a very big impact given the power ranges that are required. Of course, so we are definitely looking forward to the hydrogen ecosystem coming in. With this, let me move to Rupak here. Rupak, we have been, as an industry, working towards, adoption of different alternate fuels. And I know that CNG has been one area where JCP did some work, and it was also a successful in a specific area, but it could not become a widespread success. So in that sense, in your opinion, what are the challenges and barriers for the widespread adoption for production, distribution, and storage of alternate fuel products? And do you see any specific best practice or strategy that can help us to increase circularity in our industry, particularly in the manufacturing space? And and the recent, G20 summit where there was a global biofuel alliance that was announced, do you see these kind of initiatives helping the cause of adoption of biofuels in India?
So thank you, DK. I think before I start on the question, let me just define what construction equipment and off-highway and how it is different from CV. And sometimes we are confused with on-highway technologies and off-highway technology. In off-highway technology, I think we require a lot of power density, while we are working. We have to deliver a lot of power within a short time. And that makes, the technology unique, the engines are unique, the fuel is unique. And that's why the diesel is one of the most important fuel and which we are using right now. And then I will come to, what are the other options. Other than that, there's a little bit confusion between emissions. One is the particulate or the emissions which we discuss about a lot. But then there is a greenhouse emission. I think the sustainability or the COP declaration is more on the greenhouse emissions. And I think there are two things which contribute to that. One is CO2 and other is methane. And we have to, clearly define about that. Nevertheless, if we look into, construction and mining industry together, I think we consume around 10% of the total fuel used, total diesel used in India. That's some of the Google research which we did, which is substantial. That means, it is important that we use technology. The another thing is that, there are 4 factors which I feel is important, to adopt these fuels. One, the most important factor is the availability of the fuel, the alternate fuel. Second is, the total cost of ownership for that. And third is technology. And fourth is the uptime, So why I am speaking about, the availability of fuel. Unlike, we are called off-highway. That means we are off the highway, right? Even our construction machines which run on the highway are meant to run on a highway for a short duration. They are always working and digging, doing all those things. So I think the fuel stations for them are too far away. And you just now mentioned about CNG. I think customers were very excited with the technology. The problem is that to reach a fuel station, if they have to move 20 kilometers, 30 kilometers, it kills the efficiency. And in the other end, we are also, killing the sustainability because we are running the machine for idle, not doing the work. In that case, what should be the solution is that the fuel should reach the customer. Whatsoever is the fuel, whether it's hydrogen, whether it's CNG. Unfortunately, regulation doesn't allow mobile fuel bowsers other than diesels. Now, if you have to reach a customer, you have to take a mobile bowser, but the legislation says that no, we have to have a stationary, compliant station. We have to transfer the gas to that station and then we have to fill. It is very tedious job. So first and foremost, I think we have to work with the government that mobile bowsers to fill direct, to the equipment, that there should be some permissions with all the safety, all the legislative requirements to be covered with that. I think that will change the game in my opinion. The CNG adoption will be fast, LNG adoption will be fast, and when we are moving towards hydrogen at the later part of the decade, then again, it will be very, very important. So that's why, availability of fuel is number one. The total in fact, on the electric, the electric for, Yuvraj, for our type of machine, we still require more power dense batteries, which can deliver 3C, 4C of type of, discharge than, simply the on-highway batteries. So that also is a different type of technology. And again, the ecosystem for that electric, should be there at the site. You spoke about the Scandinavian countries, and I have read some of the articles where they have declared some of the sites like green sites, and all the equipment used was electric. But on the other side of the road, there was diesel generators to fuel them, to charge them. So there's a term called green jacking, which has come out of it. So I think you have to be careful about this. The second is the cost of ownership, because we are still a developing country. We don't have big rentals here. Our customers are still single owner entrepreneurs in some cases. So the initial cost, that becomes very important. And we have to find a way that how we can, like for example, if you have to go for a battery type of machines, then can we, start some program for leasing the batteries rather than making that as a capital cost. So that is another thing, and the cost becomes important for third. Third thing, I've kept technology because we are speaking about technology from the morning, but technology is which we all are working on. I think technology is available. Hydrogen engines are available, fuel cells are available, electric technology is available. So it is not the issue of technology, it's an issue of availability. And when we make these things very complex, then it is the total cost of and the uptime of the machine, which is again important for the customer. So I think these are few points which will be required for adoption. Again, on the biofuel or the latest alliance for the biofuel, I think our country and most of the country are ethanol centric with many reasons, because it's not like it's easy to make, there's an infrastructure for this, and also this greenhouse emission and the climate change has put us in a little bit of confusion, because one side these are disturbing the crop pattern, on the other side we say that we will use crop to manufacture these biodiesels. That is also a little bit of a contradiction. But I think yes, from the crop residual, from other residual used oils we can do, and there are technologies available. Biofuel, that it is around 0.1% right now. We all are again ready with the technology, but not with the fuel. So that's another challenge. Similarly, HVO technology, which is not in India right now, but that cuts the carbon emission to 60%. That's again a great technology, but again availability is not there. On the other hand, I think there are research going on to blend methanol with the diesel, 15% methanol. IOCL is working on to that. I think that can be a way forward. And also the technology where ethanol is blended with diesel with additive, which is called ED5. I think that's another way to go forward in a small step. I think it is important for us, I would say that we have to hasten slowly in this adoption of all these type of technologies. I think all the technology will coexist, but we should not forget diesel. I think the diesel for our type of equipment is giving the least CO2 per tonnage at the moment, if we consider from well to wheel and other, and well also to be defined, the well is from the earth or well is from the coal, etc., etc. But still, for our type of machine, is a good technology. Unfortunately, it is little bit forgotten with all, what's happening around the world. So I think we have to still look into the diesel. And one of the another thing which we can do on a short term is to look into peak shaving of the engine, go with a smaller engine, and use a hybrid technology, which can be electric hybrid, hydraulic hybrid, or flywheel hybrid. That all depends upon the manufacturer. But we use the hybrid, but then we also need government to think that that should be part of the FAME, because for our type of industry, that is logical, and it will cut down 20 to 30% of emissions straight away, and that should be considered as a FAME technology. In terms of circularity, I think you have already touched base upon it. I will not elaborate onto that, but I think refurbishment is one thing. Second thing is also we have to leverage the ecosystem of circularity with the on-highway or the commercial vehicles or car industry, where they can work together with us for disposal of batteries, taking oil back and re-refine it. Again, in European world, the green steel is where the scrap is used as steel. But I think India is working on a steel which will be produced through hydrogen. I think that will be more greener. Use of green steel, and then circulation, and also disposable of plastics, etc. I think we can harness some of the technologies or some of the ecosystem which our on-highway team will be developing, I think.
Thank you, Mr. Rupak. Thank you for elaborating on the challenges. Of course, diesel is far from over in its life, in its utility. But for sure, we have to continue to explore alternative solutions on the fuel side, as you said. The biggest barrier, as you mentioned, is availability of the alternate fuel nearer to where the usage of the product is. Thank you. With that, let me come to you, Ankit. We talked about alternate fuels. If you could elaborate the use of alternate materials, that can promote sustainability. And also, for companies that are prioritizing sustainability, what do you think are the business opportunities and advantages that they will find in the market going forward?
See, in addition to alternate material, I will start with the recycled material. I think one of the most important thing is by using the recycled material, we can promote the sustainability. It avoids the pressure on the raw material, reduces the transportation, reduces the mining activities. And in our construction equipment, if you see that there are various parts like counterweight, where we can use the waste steel and use the waste concrete and the iron dust and replace with the casted counterweight. So by that, we can provide a more sustainable solutions. Similarly, by using the alternate materials, we can make the machines lighter. We can make the machines energy efficient, improve the fuel and operational efficiencies, and ultimately helps in reducing the carbon emissions. So that is very, very important. There are various alternate materials which are available. I would say that in construction equipment, as we all know that steel is one of the biggest contributor. If we will, just to give an example, if we will switch from mild steel to the high-strength steel, which ultimately helps in reducing the weight. And if you see the cost difference is negligible, is around 10%, and the increase in the yield strength is around 60%. If I talk about the replacing the Selma, decreasing the MS with the Selma 410, for example. So these by using these kind of material, we can not only reduce the cost of the equipment, but also improve the carbon emissions by making the machines more energy efficient. Similarly, there are other examples, by using the advanced additives in hydraulics and mineral oils, we can improve the service intervals of the oils and reduce the oil consumptions, and helps in providing the more sustainable solutions to the environment. So there are various ways. In the long term, there are many researches going on alternate materials of using the composites, by using the high friction materials, which will further help in making the machines lighter and making the machines more energy efficient. So that is the way forward. But again, as Rupak said, just like in fuels, we have to also look the cost. Like many alternate materials are very expensive, so it didn't make any sense at this moment to use it. So, but we can always create a roadmap in a short term, which is also mentioned in our CE Summit roadmap, that we can start with the short-term solutions by using the materials which are available in India and making the machines lighter. And then continuous research is going on advanced materials, and as soon as their ecosystem is available, and we can switch on that. In addition to that, I would like to add that, as I said, that as a company, we always wanted to make our machines more energy efficient, but there are limitations that in India, if I talk about steels which are having a strength more than 900, they are not manufactured in India. All are imported. So if we can have that ecosystem in India, I think as a as a CE equipment associations, we can do a great job by taking a lead in this segment and making our machines best in class, very light and more energy efficient, which ultimately helps in reducing the emissions and making more sustainable solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ankit. Thank you very much. And I agree, some of the material availability is a challenge, and And as an association, we could potentially work with the stakeholders to try and make that more available. Coming now to Yuvraj. Yuvraj, you've been in the mobility industry before construction equipment, and you have seen the transition of the mobility industry coming from petrol and diesel into where we've seen a fairly widespread adoption of electrification in both the basically in the passenger transport as well as the goods transportation industry in the smaller size. When you look at and observe construction equipment industry, what do you see the challenge for our industry in terms of moving towards an electrification of the equipment? In terms of any successful, what kind of use cases are we seeing where you feel that we can be very successfully adopted? These kind of use cases can be a good way for our industry to start to move in that direction, because eventually we will have to become much more decarbonized.
Thank you. Thanks, DK, for this question. And I'm glad to share this panel with all the technologists, but I'll try to give a perspective as a consumer or from the business side. Even in automotive side, the transition is still underway, and I would say we are still in the first quarter of our transition towards electromobility. And this transition has happened largely in the low-hanging fruit segments, more intracity, repetitive operations, commercial applications, fixed routes, and two-wheelers, three-wheelers are the prime target for electrification. And over time now, the complexity of use cases is changing, and we are trying, like Sudhenjuji mentioned, heavy duty is now becoming a focus from the government point of view, because heavy duty is also seen as slightly more complex state, but in that also there are use cases where there is repetitive operation, hub-to-hub routes, which are easily, once if you shift to electric technology, you can still kind of manage. The challenges, whether it is on automotive or construction equipment, remain the same. There are primarily three challenges around alternative technologies or electromobility. One is definitely range, that the limited range is available because of whatever energy density that we've achieved in the batteries. Second is, of course, the upfront cost is high because the battery is still an expensive resource. We import the raw material, the value chain is not established here. And third is, the convenience in terms of charging. It takes whatever it takes time to charge, whether it's a car, two-wheeler, auto, or a construction equipment. In all their respective contexts, the charging time is high. For a two-wheeler, 2 hours is inconvenient. For a construction equipment, 4 hours, 6 hours is also inconvenient equally. So the challenges are same when it comes to electromobility technology, or even for hydrogen. Say the challenges are around being able to transport hydrogen to the place of operation, being able to safely and conveniently basically refill a hydrogen, whether it is a tank or a fuel cell. So what we see, I think, I see some learnings from the automotive transition, that we can target low-hanging fruits. There are low-hanging fruits even in construction equipment industry. There are construction machineries which are operating in confined areas, which are doing repetitive jobs, and they have that opportunity window to get themselves charged, or in certain cases, charging infrastructure can be set up like nearby. So all those applications are actually ripe for electrification. If an electric construction machine is actually placed instead of a diesel in that application, you have a good payback. You have, within 2 to 3 years, the displacement of diesel by electricity and the arbitrage that we have today in the country, 1:10 when it comes to diesel or versus electricity, we can actually get a payback for that machine itself. The machine itself will pay for for the extra cost of investment. So in construction equipment, clearly the ones which are on wheels versus the ones on tracks have a higher probability, where with wheels, little bit of movement, being able to go to a charging station and getting charged can actually make it equally convenient. At the same time, will not impact the operations of the area where it is. And I am seeing like a lot of some of these machines are used around food processing industries, whether it is dairy, whether it is high stacking of fodder for cattle, or food processing factories where they want to kind of use to move material, etc. Now those are the areas where there's also a need to kind of have a non-emitting vehicle or a machine to be used, because otherwise you will start getting that smell, and then you have to use many other methods or technologies to remove the diesel smell or the smoke smell from the material that is getting processed. So they can be a target segment where this can be, an electric can actually fit very well. Tunnels, where you are putting in extra machinery to exhaust, to remove the fumes of diesel-based machinery. So that's where is an opportunity where an electric can fit, and you will have to, it takes a little bit of will and a little bit of innovation in thinking how electric is to be applied. If we start to think machine-to-machine replacement, then you will say, okay, forget it, electric is not able to meet my machine's operating conditions. But if you look at application level requirement and then trying to define, okay, what is required for me to do this job from an electric machine or from a alternatively powered machine, and then accordingly designing a solution can actually help meet most of the applications. Today, because application has a very wide range, whereas the equipments are only few defined, there is one equipment catering to different applications. For certain applications, it's actually an overkill. But the reason we are using it is because we don't have a choice. There are only limited applications. So if you think from that application point of view, even a lower spec'd electric machine can actually meet the application's requirement, and you can address it. So I feel that broadly there are segments today available which are ripe for usage of alternate sustainably powered electric machines. All you need to do is address those applications through a solution-centric approach, and we can start our journey of transition. We've seen for last 1 year at Volvo, we've deployed probably we are having the largest fleet of electric machines today in the country, battery electric machines, and we've been able to successfully deploy this using this approach, where we've identified application and we've worked collaboratively with the customer to say that it is not a like-to-like machine, but you see how we are able to still meet your application requirement with our electric. And customers, like once they've moved to electric, they don't want to go back to diesel. So it's a permanent shift. So this way we can actually accelerate our journey as construction equipment industry. And Sudhendu my request is that we need your support in terms of getting some policy support to nudge the industry to make this transition faster.
So I think, interestingly you mentioned most of the examples as a parallel to automotive, and one of the things that changed in automotive sector also is that many of the OEMs who are manufacturers of equipment, in order to drive the adoption of the technology, also went into different business models. When you look at logistics companies, today automotive companies own logistics companies, and they are, let's take the last mile delivery concept of Edel, which is a Mahindra company, which actually deployed this entire three-wheeler range through that company. And so it's a completely new way of looking at business to actually achieve the same point A to point B. Similarly, in our industry as well, the use of new business models where the user-owned product model to a service model is another way of deploying. And in Volvo, as Yuvraj has mentioned, all the deployments of electric machines have been 100% done through a service model. So it is done through a pay per hour or a pay per usage kind of means, and that changes the whole game, because the fear of electricity or the fear of how to manage it, and the change is actually you take away the challenge. And I think as an industry, adopting some newer ways of doing things will probably accelerate not just electric, but also maybe other alternate fuels, like for example biofuels and all of that. So we've come to the end of the questions that I had. But is there anyone who would like to make any kind of, particularly I would like to invite Mrs. Sudhendu, if, from what you gather from this conversation, if you like to just respond to some of that from your perspective.
You see, I came with the purpose of practically learning more, because of recent times I have been watching that, I have been getting representations that you people do want to work in this stream also. That is very heartening, you see. And I'm sure that you must have told them that our performance in electric mobility is absolutely, it's astounding. Internationally, it is a major success story. So, but yes, if we are able to convert the construction equipment, CE, into clean equipments, again, CE, so that would be a real thing. But please, as I told you, please let us know. For instance, I didn't know that majority of the equipments, the way I learned right now, that they are on service models. That is the business model which is there. So precisely that is what we want, that mobility or battery should be as a service. So once it is service, that is the best case possible for the asset utilization, and everything, everything comes down. All the costs and everything comes down. The upfront cost comes down, so that is a win-win situation for everybody. So if we get more clarity, then certainly we would like to embed it into any future policy. But maybe that you move very fast, because once something is frozen, then it is very difficult to put a tail to it. Yes.
Yeah. Sure, sir. We will definitely be working, and we have been actively participating as an industry in different forums to try and get our voice heard, and surely we'll come to you as well for support in the ongoing transformation of our country's move towards sustainability. With that, this session, I think the summary has been very well put by Mrs. Sudhendu, and I would only say that the journey towards sustainability is a long one. There is a journey of our own factories, and how we use energy in our factories, which is much more easier for us. I can just give an example that, the factory that we have in Volvo in Bangalore, it runs 100% on solar power today. So our incoming electricity on scope 2, we managed to more or less, it was under our control, we could switch. But incidentally, in a solar powered factory, we still produce diesel, powered machines. And that will be our dream, to see that, when we can actually also produce products with maximum indigenization content on the fuel side as well. So that is one part. And on the other side, in terms of technological development, I think India is moving very fast. As you said, the electrification journey in the automotive sector is a great story. I think our engineers in India and our capabilities and R&D capabilities in India are sufficiently strong enough to transition construction equipment industry too. A lot of the R&D work for Indian construction equipment industry happens within this country, not just for products that are manufactured for India, but also products that we do engineering for the rest of the world. And so a lot of the newer technologies are being engineered out of India. And then when it comes to the transition of these fuels, I'm sure there's both work required from us as an industry in terms of bringing products to market, but also on the policy framework for the faster adoption of some of these newer technologies, so that we can nudge ourselves to move that, and then also to start looking at, as we said, we need those low-hanging fruits. We need to identify those ways and means to actually move towards it, because any transition or any change is going to be uncomfortable. We have to smoothen it out in the way we will actually work. And I'm sure construction equipment industry has always tried hard to be proactive in its approach to changing its impact in the society, and I'm sure with the support of all our industry players and the very common voice that we have, we can definitely make the move. I will also use this opportunity in this summary to again appeal to the government to take very clear action on the off-highway emission side. We do have some meetings during this week also lined up, particularly with Secretary Marth and also Secretary Heavy Industries on this subject. We will bring it up, and definitely will also like to use the offices of Niti Aayog to help us in this direction, so that as an industry we can start to further reduce the impact of ours onto the society. With that, I would like to close the session 3. So we do have some felicitations to be done, and post that a short closing of the technology summit with a vote of thanks. Thank you, Vivek. Thank you very much. And with that, I will come to the end of this technology summit, and I will use this occasion on behalf of ICEMA to thank everybody. It is with a lot of satisfaction and pride that I like to announce the close of this incredibly insightful and thought-provoking technology summit, for the first one of its kind for the Indian construction equipment industry. We gathered here with a common purpose to chart a visionary roadmap for the future of our industry, and it is both an honor and privilege to extend my heartfelt thanks to each and every one of you who have been part of this momentous occasion. First and foremost, on behalf of ICEMA, I would like to express our deepest appreciation to all our esteemed speakers, panelists, and experts who have shared their knowledge, experiences, and innovative ideas through this summit. Each session, each discussion and presentation has added valuable layers to our understanding of the technology landscape that lies ahead for our industry. I would like to extend our gratitude to the organizing committee, the event coordinators, and all the individuals behind the scenes who have worked tirelessly to bring this summit to life. Your dedication and attention to detail have ensured a seamless execution and resulting, I'm sure, in a resounding success for this event. Maybe we can give a big round of applause to the team that has been behind this. I also acknowledge the commitment of our delegates, our attendees who have taken time out of their busy schedule to join us here. Thank you for your active participation and engagement. That definitely has fostered an environment that has encouraged meaningful dialogue and knowledge exchange. Thank you all again for your presence here, for your dedication to the CE industry as well as today's summit. I'm sure our industry's future is bright. With the collaborative and collective efforts of all the partners, all the OEMs, and all the organizations that have been part of today's session, I'm sure it will propel us towards greater pinnacles of technology. In closing, I would like to say that the journey ahead may be challenging, as we saw today, that some of the changes will mean a lot of shift for all of us. But with the collective determination and expertise in this room, I'm sure we are well equipped to navigate the path towards technological excellence and to lead the industry. In the future that we see for Indian construction equipment industry, we said that we want to be the second largest industry in the world by 2030. And I'm very sure, given the focus of our government and our country towards development, by 2047, I'm sure we will be the #1 market in the world. And in that, we will make tremendous technology progress. We'll use the scale that will be to our advantage and be, of course, also a net exporter of not just products, but also latest in innovative technology in the world. With that, let me thank you again for your unwavering support and participation in the summit. And let us continue to work together, united by our shared vision to drive the Indian CE industry to new heights. Thank you very much all, and have a wonderful day.